Let's do it. And okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of my favorite podcast ever called Riffin with Riffin, and I have another special guest, one of the funniest comics out there, and one of my best friends in the world, and honestly, one of the most positive comics in a business that's so negative. Please welcome to the program, Mr. Steve Simeone.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah. We need the singing mic. Whoa, 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 whoa. I always offer it to the guests. You want to get on the singing mic? Oh, Jesus Christ.
I always wanted to be the deep bass guy from Boys to Men.
Hold on. It's Riffin with Griffin. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa.
I'll just play the air bass.
Steve Simeone.
I feel like
we're
two
here.
little kids that don't have any other friends.
Right.
Like we're loving it too much.
And we set it all up.
Yeah, no, all the cool kids have rocks in their hands outside for as soon as we walk out.
And like we're in your parents' garage, you know what I mean? You know, you can take them off if you don't want to use them. Yeah. That's exactly what this is. And your mom comes in with peanut butter jelly sandwiches. It's lunchtime, kids. Stop.
Did you cut the crust off? And I break her balls.
Yeah. But anyways, dudes, thanks for coming out. You know, I've been on your podcast, and I started this thing, and I said, you know, I got to get everybody I know that I admire and that kind of stuff on. And here you are. You know, very funny guy. You know, you're always so positive in a business that's so negative. You know, and by the way, make sure you check out Steve's album. What's the name of the album?
Jabba.
You know what I mean? It's called Jabba. It was doing very well when it first came out on iTunes. I think it's still doing well.
Yeah, it hit number one. Stayed there. Came out 3 weeks ago, and I think it just fell out of the top couple spots this week. So
that's great. So make sure you listen to that. If you listen, especially like I said, I can't reiterate this enough. If you're tired of just the negativity of comedy, and you want to hear something fun and positive, this is the guy for that. And I was asked, was that like a choice?
Yeah, it was a choice for me and my own mental health, to be honest with you. Because I don't think I'm any different than any other comic or whatever, but I just made the choice to start celebrating, to have a little more gratitude in my comedy because I needed that in my life.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? Like it's for me, and then hopefully the audience digs it too.
It's like your own healing process, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I know because for me, I mean, I go negative. It's not necessarily, I mean, I go with this is what's pissing me off, or
yep.
This is what I feel about a certain thing, and I'll talk about it that way. Because that's just I also think it's it can be the funniest side of my personality. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that I often go to that. But, like I say, I watch you and you're just like you said, it's funny how you put it, celebrating. That's it. God, I think I need to be more positive.
I needed that myself.
Right.
Where I go, our job is to tell the truth. And then I'm like, all right, well, if this is the truth of life, why are any of us here? So I had to keep on digging. And then when I started to keep on digging and digging, I'm like, wait, there's some amazing stuff in life. And let's celebrate that and let's focus on that.
Yeah, I guess. I know what you're saying. Because I guess what I was referring to is that, I guess comedy can be so therapeutic. Mm-hmm. And so, when things are bothering you, there's a certain sense of hey, talk about this right now because this is what's bothering you.
Yeah.
And then what you're doing is well, this is bothering me, but I can heal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's a bit on the new album where one of my friends pointed out, who's a comic, he was like, dude, that's a freakishly dark bit, but you made it funny. And it's about my dad almost giving my older brother the beating of his life.
Right.
But he was too fat to take his belt off. So we all just had laughs. And that's kind of how I view life. Is there a darkness there? Absolutely. But there's also a joy in the suffering. There's a joy in the moment. And it's hey, man, it goes by so fast. Find something to celebrate. Find something to, because that's it.
That's so funny.
What we got.
That kind of happened to me. My mom, there was this tree outside in the backyard.
I'm already in.
And literally my mom would be like, go get a switch off that tree. And that's how I would get whooped. You know what I mean? So,
Dude, what kind of psychological
I
damage
know.
is that?
Because you can't pick a little.
Yeah, because you'd be like, oh, really? How about if I use the bat instead?
Yeah. And then there used to be like a hallway in this apartment we lived in where like, so there was like a door at the end. And if you walked through the hallway, it was like the length of the apartment and you could come in. So it was like the
long way
around. No, but it was like a roundabout.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So it was like, so I would run from my mom. We would run in circles. She would be chasing me. Fun times. Because in the middle of the running, we would both start laughing.
That's what happened with my dad. Was too fat to get his belt off. Like I never saw my fat big brother ever run. He ran. And the whole family's, my dad's chasing my brother, and then the rest of the family's chasing my dad, chasing my mom's like, Jesus, don't kill him. And we're all going, kill him, kill him. And we did a couple laps from like living room through the kitchen, through the dining room, through the kitchen, and then my dad finally got him cornered, and he was too fat to get the belt off.
Well, so again, like I used to run from my mom. But so the one night, I'm really in trouble. I don't know. Of course, I don't remember what I did. But she's like, "Go get a switch off the tree." I go out back, and the tree's gone.
Thank you, Jesus.
I know they cut. They cut the tree down, and so I have to go back, and I go. But I was scared because I was like, "Well,
what are the consequences?
The tree's gone." She starts cracking up. I start. Probably one of the first times I was like. This humor thing.
Absolutely.
I was like, there's something to this, like making people laugh to get out of shit.
Yep.
And I'll never forget that. And then it was like, that was one of the, I don't know. Do you remember I remember the last time that like spankings, it wasn't going to work anymore. Is when like I was at a certain age where my mom's trying to hit me and I'm just looking at her like, ow, oh, mom, this is really your.
My mom's most powerful weapon in her whole arsenal, which still has leverage on me, was always her just going, well, I'm just disappointed.
Guilt.
That thing.
Yeah, you disappointed. Yeah. Well, my mom came from Central America, so, it was like whoopings or nothing.
Yeah. I remember my mom, like, she would just, like, what was ever in arm's reach. Like, I remember once on a family vacation, it was usually my older brother getting most of it. That's why I'm me. I saw the vicious beatings, and I was just like the dude, like, what do I have to get? What do I got to sit? Well, all right, I'm good. No problems. But I remember her just looking, and she took a hairbrush and smacked it on his fat ass and broke it in half.
Yeah.
And we all started laughing. Like, why? I don't know why beatings and laughing.
Yeah,
like,
your family's
guineas.
Yeah, weird.
A lot of emotion.
Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, my mom, I just remember, I can remember being like 15 or 16 and just, just physically stronger now, you know what I mean? And just being like, okay, can you
so
stop?
how did that dynamic change in terms of her authority and how she
tried
to?
I think she's still, actually, if I can remember being a kid, it's like we had a lot of knockout, like yelling matches at that point, But what do you? But that's just teen hormones and like.
I don't know how parents deal with that,
especially today.
I don't know. Like parents to me are all superheroes because at every stage of somebody's life. You're the most that connection, that responsibility. I don't know how they do it. Like I did a CD a couple years ago, and the premise was that I was playing with little kids are kind of gangsters. Like they want what they want, or else everybody's going to have a problem. Like my 3-4-year-old nephews are like that, and I'm like, that's a handful. But now I'm starting to watch the teenagers interact. with their parents.
It's even worse.
And I'm like, how do they? Because they're not even cute anymore.
Yeah.
Like at least a little guy, it's pretty funny when they're bad. But like a zit-faced 15-year-old, that's like, psh,
2 to
whatever.
2 to 4, they're like hot chicks in Hollywood. You know what I mean?
You'll put up with it.
You just put up with stuff. Well, she's hot. You know what I mean?
She doesn't know any better.
Yeah. I know. And then there's the whole concept of a village to raise a kid is not happening anymore because when I was a kid, if I got in trouble at school, the thing that got me to like not continue whatever the fuck I was doing was them going, I'm going to call your mom.
Yes.
They said, we're going to call your mom. And then I'll be like, whoa. Let's talk this through. Like, we don't need to do that.
Dude, I remember once when I was 13, so I was in that awful phase, and me and my skateboarder buddies were the end thing was to try to do an ollie up onto a wall and do some sort of wall thing.
Right.
So we're on the side of a gas station, the side of a garage, and skateboard marks are all over the wall. And this guy comes out and breaks balls. So all my friends just sort of scram. But the one guy's like, I know you. What's your last name? I know your father. So I was like, oh, man.
no.
So they all left. And I'm
you're
just
like, I'll clean
scrubbing.
this.
Yes.
I got it. I'm going to take care of it. Let's not get him involved in this, you know?
Yeah, and part of it was the fear of physical repercussions, but it was more like even as a kid, I was a sensitive kid. I knew the struggles my parents were going through to keep a roof over our head. I knew how miserable their lives were, and I just didn't want to add to it.
God, that must be terrible to have that knowledge as a kid.
I had it from the earliest recollection. I never had that bliss.
Well, I was going to say, when people say ignorance is bliss, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
I'd be like, man, like I would hear my dad waking up and going to work. I'm like, ooh, I don't want to do that.
You know, remember one time I was like doing a show in like Oklahoma or something like that? Some weird, like, you know, you have to get in a rental car and drive like, you know, for your life. Like you're not sure where the fuck you are.
Yep.
I'm at this weird hotel place and like there was a lot of military guys there. And after the show, I'm kind of, you know, what do I have to do? So, you know, I'm hanging out with these military kids, young guys too.
Yep, they are kids.
You know, they're in their 20s, you know. But one of them, the guy was a field medic.
Oh, superhero.
Yeah, he's
a legit superhero.
And you know, and he was like, it's funny you say that because I felt but here's the thing, he was fully aware, you know what I mean? Like he was like the guy that like he knew what he was doing.
Dude, they're better people.
You know,
like I had a very ignorant perspective of what the military was until I started to do shows overseas. And I remember, first off, I thought everybody had a gun in their hand. I thought everybody was a little green army man. I didn't realize how many people are there to support the efforts of those boots on the ground. I had no concept of anything. But then in the back of my brain, because I've always been sort of patriotic because I'm an 80s kid. Like I grew up with Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Rambo movies. They've always been superheroes to me. But I'm going to be honest. Remember when I was 18 and I was trying to discern things and I'm going, I don't know if I could take orders from somebody. Dude, the people I've met in the military, they're just cut from a different cloth. They're better people. Like I've met people where I'm like, oh, I'd follow that guy in the battle. I trust that dude with my life. They have a sense of awareness that civilians don't have.
But this is what I'm trying to say though, is that this guy was like that, like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because again, he was a field medic. But he knew that like he was like, it was almost as if he knew the dangers of war and he was there to help support in the aftermath, right?
Yeah.
Now, his buddy was this dude that was like, he would like run through a brick wall for you, right?
Yeah.
But this guy was like, but I could tell how just ignorant this guy was about just what he was doing, the life he was living. But he just was like, this is my man. And I saw the other guy and I could tell how responsible the field medic guy felt for him.
Absolutely.
Because he saw that he was like, man, I have to make sure, because this is the kind of guy that would be like, if some shit broke out, he's the first guy there. He's the first guy, like, you know, and he, you know, and I just thought, man, so I'm saying you were that guy for your brothers and sisters, or you know,
oh, that's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like you were the guy that was like, you know what, I don't want to get dad involved in this because they're, and then like there's this sort of entitlement that kids have. You know, that's what I'm saying. They're kind of like hot chicks in LA. This kind of entitlement of like I deserve the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a form of ignorance.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I remember being like that when I, you know, was a kid. Just, you know, you just want what you want. You know, my mom used like, when you look back at the things that because I remember like going to my birthdays, my mom promised that she was going to take a few of my friends to Magic Mountain.
Wow.
Her car broke down.
Yeah.
You know, but
you don't understand.
As a kid, you're just like, you promise, you know what I mean?
Lie.
Yeah.
There's a word for that, Mom. It's
I know, it's called betrayal.
Dude, I can't believe
she rented a car.
Oh my, dude, that's what moms.
Yeah, she rented a car, and I look back on, I can't appreciate it till now.
Correct. You took the cent, you just did one of those. Whoop. Yeah. The older I've gotten, the more I appreciate the sacrifices that were made to try to make me happy.
Yeah,
and I feel an obligation to repay that directly to my parents, but also live my life in a way that makes them proud.
So where you from originally?
Suburban Philadelphia.
Suburban.
So it's a distinct thing. Yeah. Oh, you know why? Because Philly people will break your balls. If you go Philly, they're like, you ain't from Philly.
Yeah. Chicago people are like that too, because Chicago's so big. And a lot of people like to say they're from Chicago, but they're like 25 miles from the city.
Right. I grew up like, I used to work in the city after college, and it would take me 15 minutes. So
by train or something?
Car.
Oh, car. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Philly was a car town.
It's an everything town. Yeah, there's trains. Like, actually, of the people that know how to live life, they get a nice house out in the suburbs with a backyard and good public schools, and then they drive to the train station, 2-minute drive,
Leave their
and then
car.
take the train into the city.
Gotcha.
That's how you really do it.
I guess you from Philly.
Yeah, suburban Philly, because there's a probably
Yeah, for
through
you
the
Philly
northeast
people
Philly.
out
Like,
there,
you're
yeah.
from Delco, you ain't from Philly.
So you're from the suburbs of Philly. 2 brothers, right?
Yeah, I'm the middle of 3 boys.
Middle child.
Yep.
And but
That's why he's a comic.
Yeah, and you had middle child or only child. Usually, those are the ones that become comics. So then you, so mother and father, like, tell me your story. What
Well, today's actually my parents' 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh wow,
They're still together
50
today,
years.
June 21st.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, and I just got off. I'm a mama's boy. I just got off the phone with my mom, and I was like, I want to thank you guys for just not giving up.
Oh boy, I bet you teared up.
No, she laughed.
Oh,
You know what I mean? We're more of a laugh family.
Oh yeah, so from Philly. And
Yeah,
a little
because-
Italian in you.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're crazy, and Dad's crazy, but you're crazy enough to stick it out.
Yeah. Well, my therapist always says, like, when you might meet somebody, you're crazy and they're crazy.
Have
to link up. So
Yeah, I look at my parents' relationship. I'm like, anybody sane wouldn't put up with my dad, but then anybody sane wouldn't put up with my mom, and they just did it. And like
50 years.
it's insane. It's just I don't think relationships like that are going to come around again.
Well, if you think about it, like, because we're both in our 40s, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you ever regret, like, not looking back and being like, maybe when I was 31, I should have tried to get into a real relationship?
Oh, I tried. I did. I that's why I don't have any regrets. I did my best.
But your best wasn't
good enough. My fat big brother used to sing that to my mom to make her cry. It was the best. Like he'd be like, "So what are you getting Steve for his birthday?" Because he would shake down my mom like a gangster. He was like, seriously, he ran our house
your family, man.
like a corrupt politician, right? So I remember it was my little brother's happy birthday, Mark. It's also my younger brother's birthday.
Oh wow, wow,
It's a big day.
a lot
in the
going
Simeone
on.
family,
Yeah.
So I remember like saying it's like my younger brother's 8th birthday, and this is really the ritual of those single-digit birthdays. My big brother would have you convinced that if he didn't go to mom on your behalf, she was going to do your birthday wrong. So like a commercial would come on for like a Holly Hobby oven.
He was like getting protection money.
Yeah, you would get a kickback because you'd have to write something on your birthday list for him.
Hilarious.
He'd be like, and write in Van Halen tape. This is all real. So one of his techniques for putting the squeeze on my mom would be like, what are you getting, Mark? She's like, well, we couldn't get him the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier, but we got him the G.I. Joe combat base. We got him the Aquaman that he wanted. And he'd go, and what else? And she'd be like, well, and then there's like some, and then what else? And she's like, well, that's it, Christopher. And he'd go, oh, well, you tried, right? And she's like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you only turn 8 once. And, well, we did our best. And he would go, you did your best, but I guess your best wasn't good enough to put a smile on Marky's face. And I remember once my mom's driving, holding back tears. And she just looks at my big brother.
That's so manipulative.
And goes, you're a rotten little boy. You know that? So many laughs.
Oh, your family's actually terrible.
Terrible and beautiful at the same time.
We all have our things. So then, when you went to school in the suburbs,
I went to public. I lasted 3 months in Catholic school, 1st grade. That didn't work out so great for me.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, it had vicious nun. Vicious.
No. Yeah, they were bad back then.
Bad. Like, I remember my favorite thing when I was 6 years old to escape the chaos of my house was I used to call it my tree, but it was essentially like a little bush outside in the front yard. And I would just climb in there and be like, all right, man, I'm posted up in here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm good. I needed my solitude even then. And then I remember like the first day of school, this nun was like, because you're a little boy, we'd climb trees. Like if you had a friend that had a cool tree in his backyard, you're like, it's on.
Yeah,
dude.
if you see 2 branches that are sticking,
you're like, let me try.
You're like, okay, then there's another one. Yeah.
How are we going to get this up? You come up with a game plan.
Yeah.
And I remember first, you're 6 years old, you're a baby, and she goes, trees are to be admired. If you climb a tree, you're going to hell. She was one of those ladies. So I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then, public school kid, middle of 3 boys. I grew up in a way that I thought everybody grew up. And it wasn't until, honestly, I got a little taste of it in college, But I didn't really know it until I moved here. That I
People
grew up
don't know their father.
not that, but I was exposed to everybody where I grew up. I went to school with kids that had legit nothing.
Right.
And I also was exposed to kids that, like I was on the phone with one of my buddies from high school. His dad's worth like a couple $100 million. So in this public school environment, I had to learn how to get along with everybody.
Oh, got you.
And like my neighborhood was primarily Jewish and Italian, but even in my neighborhood, there would be like, you know, a family from India, a family from Korea, a family from Persia. You learned how to get along with everybody. Like, I remember when I went to college, I joined the BSA, the Black Students Association, but it wasn't a thing. Yeah, because I got my buddy Dave into the Italian American Club, and then he co-signed for me to be in the BSA. And Dave was 6'8", 270, so they're like, I guess Simone's in.
Yeah.
And I tried to DJ with one turntable. Oh. It was the 90s. What can I tell you? But I really thought everybody grew up with that. And then I moved out here. I'm like, oh, the rich kids only hung with rich kids.
Oh, right.
The poor kids only hung with poor kids. But why? And the other thing is how I grew up. That didn't, because you got to live with everybody, money didn't matter. Like you could hang out with people even as adults in my 20s, and you would be friends or friends of friends, and you didn't even know what anybody did. We're just all watching the Eagles game together.
Just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, but like here, this culture in LA, or maybe it's just 2019, where people kind of want to figure how you can help them immediately.
Well, you know what? Don't be jaded by LA Hollywood.
No, I think it's more indicative of 2019 than it is of the geographic location. I
kind of feel like being in the entertainment business, you know, you find yourself around people that it's like they're not trying to cultivate relationships first. They're trying to, like, you know, they want the fruit from the tree, you know, already.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, you got to grow this. And you have to, like,
right.
There's a process. So I think a lot of that has to do with, like, because we're around a certain business, this business. Because how long have you? Because when did you decide that you wanted to be a comic?
When I was going through my quarter life crisis, like I remember I was a pretty good student, all things considered. Especially now when I look back and I'm like, oh, I was dyslexic. I had no idea.
Oh wow,
I didn't know until I was 40. And I was like, oh, now it all makes sense. Like why I failed Spanish, why I could never spell, why I couldn't figure out combination locks as a kid.
Oh, wow.
My brain's just wired different. But I was still a pretty good student. And by the time I got to college, everything really made sense. So
where'd you go to college?
Loyola in Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
Still paying for it.
But crazy.
Absolutely crazy. But I was a good student. I was in a couple honor societies and stuff like that. And I had trouble getting a job. And then I had a corporate job that I hated. And then I was going to circle back to law school.
Corporate job? What was the corporate job?
I worked for a credit card company called MBNA.
Oh, wow.
That was not a good fit. It was terrible.
Yeah, you would remind me of you're gonna love this too, by the way. You'd totally be Mr. Incredible when he was working at the insurance company.
That's what it felt like.
You'd be the insurance, and then the lady's like, "But I have no money," and you would be like, "Okay, here's what you do."
Yeah. Oh, that is what it was like.
That's totally you. Like,
yeah.
You're not. Yeah, you wouldn't be like you couldn't be a repo guy.
You know what was terrible? This one I knew I had to get out. My first job, the entry-level job I had there, was collecting delinquent credit card accounts.
Oh, no.
So there's the philosophy that they trained you with, where they were like, you're here to help people. They didn't even call it collections. They called it customer assistance. So I bought into it. I'm like, I'm here to help. And I would spend time with people on the phone and try to figure out their situation and really try to help. That's not what they wanted.
Yeah.
What they wanted was you to go, like, Goodfellas, F you, pay me. Yeah. Right? Pretty much. And I remember one time I was exhausted. I was sick. I was having a bad day, and I started to give somebody the business on the phone call.
Right.
Because they came at me in a way that wasn't so beautiful. So then I responded out of weakness in a way that wasn't so beautiful. And from time to time, the big shots would listen in on your calls.
They would record the calls.
Yeah. And when they were listening in, they came down and gave me an award for how I handled it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, this is not a good match.
You're out.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. Because I was embarrassed with how I behaved, and they were like, Who's our favorite shark?
I know.
It's Steve.
It would be great if they would have played your phone calls for the whole everybody. You know what? It's funny you say that. I had a situation like that where my car. I had to call the insurance company, and the lady on the phone was trying to tell me, basically calling me a liar about what's going on with my car. Yeah. And I was so mad on the phone, and I was like, you're a bitch, all this stuff. Yeah. You know what? I called her back.
Yeah.
I called her back right away. And I was like, hi, Mrs. So-and-so, this is Eric Griffin calling you back. And I
want to apologize.
I want to apologize.
That's why.
But you know what's funny? I heard in her voice that she was like, thank you.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is when you can make that human connection, and that's beautiful. I love that. What I'm starting to find, and I hope it's not the beginning of getting jaded, but what I really do find it, I don't even think heartbreaking's that strong of a term, that sometimes when I get a little more aggressive, then results will come. And I'm like, why is the world set up like this? It breaks my heart.
Well, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
But it's like, I try to be loving and kind and cool to everybody, and you would assume people would be like, oh, this dude's really cool, let's try to help. And that does happen. But I had a situation with my credit card where I bought a hotel room through Hotwire.
Right.
And then the hotel made the mistake of charging me in addition to it. So I paid twice for this terrible room.
Right.
And I was just like, with the lady, and I go, this is unacceptable. I go, am I your customer or not? Like, you're not treating me like a customer. And I was like, you know what? And she started to give me the corporate one. I go, let me talk to you. And I went, and I dropped an F-bomb. I go, look, it's not you. But I go, let me talk to somebody that will make me feel like an effing customer, or I will close the account right now. I will pull out all of my money from your bank, and I'll go somewhere that does make me feel like a customer. And then, oh, Mr. Simeone, what can we do? We're so sorry. And I'm like,
yeah, but you're looking at it like as if you did something wrong. You're saying in that process that's like, no, it's like sometimes people need to be reminded of what you just said.
Correct.
I'm a customer. And it's like, I'm not going to be just bulldozed and like, make,
right. But the fact that the system set up to bulldoze people, that's what breaks my heart.
Well, again, look, you lock your doors because, there are because of a few bad apples.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So for them too, it was like, oh man, did you ever work for Pat Wilson?
No. Sounds like a fake name.
But she was this up north booker.
Yeah.
You did Pacific Northwest, and she caught herself acting like she was putting you on a run, but the run would be like let's
8
say
hours in
no.
something.
Let's say like one show's on the 3rd, another show's on the 7th, another show's on the 12th, and it's like you have to put yourself up. So I'm doing like colleges and stuff in between, and I'm doing this stuff. But anyway, all right. So I'm doing a college, and I'm doing a Indian casino in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
But like
be good money
Blair
gigs.
Witch Project. Okay, but what happened was the college is paying for my rental car. Okay. I send an email. I think I'm talking to the college. Hey, thanks for the gig, blah, blah, blah. But I was told that I was going to get reimbursed for the rental car. And I just want to I accidentally sent that to the casino.
Okay.
The casino guy hits me right back and says like, hey, I don't think you should talk to, and I said, oh my God. I emailed him right back. Listen, I am so sorry. This is the wrong
legitimate
email.
Mistake.
Yeah, because in your emails are all,
yes,
and I was
absolutely.
like, hey, this was all a part of the same gig. I sent this to the wrong thing. This was supposed to go to the college. My apologies. This lady hits me up and she's like, you were trying to pull a fast one on the thing. I said, no, if you could see the email, I said to her, I sent back, the thing right away. And then she's like, well, this is what I have to deal with, because, all the shady comics. So now I'm getting mad.
Yeah.
Because,
well, she's coming from a point of view of pain. Now she's transferring that pain to you. And now we're going to have a situation.
Now we have a situation because I wrote her back and said, hey, it's not my responsibility that you hire, a bunch of shady comics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's on you. But anyway, the thing is, it just turned into this bag I never worked for again.
Yeah.
Because I was like, like my thing was like, hit me up like, yo, first ask me, hey, what's up with this situation with the rental car?
Yep.
And then I would have said right away, that was a mistake if you could see I already.
Yep.
But for you to come at me right away.
Because she's coming from a point of view of pain.
That I'm a criminal.
Right.
That's what's missing.
Yes.
So I said, what I'm saying to you is like, I don't mind the initial, like your approach initially is fine.
Yeah.
Because you're coming and being like, hey, this is a situation.
Yep.
I think when they hit you with the like, they're shutting you down from that point, that's when you go, I gave it the college try.
Yes.
Now it's like, now I have to deal with you on your footing.
Yes.
Get me your fucking manager.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, so I don't think I'm saying you should.
And I was
too
still
harsh on yourself.
checking myself as I was doing. I go, look, I know it's not your thing, but I go, there's something wrong with the country.
Yeah.
I go, customer service died with hip hop somewhere in the 90s.
But you know, you're so old. Say that hip hop. Hip hop's still good. It's just not our cup of tea.
Yeah, dude, it's not supposed to be for me. I'm old.
You know, I went to like GameStop. You know, and I was buying something at GameStop.
That's tremendous.
You know, but it was like, I love video games. Look, you see my Xbox over there. I have a gaming channel, Riffin Gaming. You know, so so I'm buying something like it's like it's like, you know how they rebuy stuff from people and then they resell that stuff.
Yeah.
So I bought something that was like something was wrong with it. So I'm telling this young kid that works there, I say, yeah, this isn't. And he's like, oh well, that's not our responsibility. And I was like, no,
it is.
This is your responsibility.
Yep.
And he's arguing with me about this. And I said, look, dude, if you were a restaurant and you bought meat from a butcher and that butcher sold you bad meat, but you sold it to your customers, that's on you.
Yep.
What you have to deal with the butcher is not my fucking problem.
Loop. Yep.
You know what I mean? And so this guy, you know, he's like, and then I was so mad. And then the manager comes over and but it's even worse sometimes when you calmly.
That's one of the scariest things in life. Is the dude that's calm while everybody else. You calmly
try to explain like, here's the problem I'm having right now. Okay, you know, and it's like that's how I like to approach things. Like sometimes I'll be like, you know, it's like, you know, like you're dealing with something like a situation, and I get the manager over and I go, you know, this is your fault. Yeah. Because I can tell that you don't treat your employees properly.
Absolutely. You just did the same thing. You jumped into my brain again. I was going to bring that up.
And I say, you're not treating your employees properly, and that's why they think it's okay to act like this with me.
Exactly. It's the transference of pain again. Like, that's why I say it's heartbreaking. Like, I was honestly thinking about starting a podcast called Bad Company. Because I love that Bad Company. You know that song?
Steve, you got to grab the singer mic.
Bad Company.
Whoa, Steve Simeone.
Because when I can make a human connection with somebody on the phone, like usually if I can set the tone up front where I'm like, oh my God, it's so great to talk to a human being. Because a lot of these companies now have these computer systems.
Hate it.
Where you can't even talk to somebody.
I'm the guy going,
zero to operator, right? So when I find, but they treat their employees so poorly. And I don't feel like nobody feels appreciated, not the employees and not the customers.
Right.
And it's so the people at the top can make even more money. And I find that all heartbreaking. Like imagine what our unemployment would be in this country if every company, you personally, just the companies that touch your life, hired the right amount of customer service people.
I know.
There'd be no unemployment.
Yeah.
And if they paid people properly, like why does some 60-year-old CFO, CEO, CMO need to make $80 million a year so he can be on a yacht with coke-whores when they could take that extra let them take $20 million and take that $60 million and give it back to the people in the trenches and let them have a better life. So then the customers get treated better.
Yeah, you know, but I don't know if communism works though, Steve.
I don't think that is communism. I think that's better long-term capitalism because you know what's going to happen? That's why I am a capitalist. Because in a free market, we always can vote with our dollars. And you know what? Unless you're going to give me customer service, I'm going to go somewhere that has better business minds that's going to take care of their customers. Well, and that's how a free market works.
You mean first to take care of their employees, and then in turn their employees will take care of their customers.
Absolutely.
Well, there are certain companies like that because I tell you these tech companies are like that.
Yep.
Because I went to the Facebook campus, they call it the campus.
Cool.
Up in San Francisco, and
what was that like?
I was just like, this is amazing.
Yep.
You know, like, because it's like the healthcare is on, you know, they have their own doctor on, you know, that
Take
kind
care
of
of
thing.
people.
You know, the food is free. You know, it's just the intramural sports. It's just,
Yeah, it's just super fun.
Yeah,
It's like being in a rich kid's basement. You're like, what? You can just get popcorn?
It was like
we just popped it.
it's like you went to Richie Rich's house.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Cool. And look. And those companies that take care of their employees, they're the ones making all the money.
Yeah, they thrive. Yeah.
Yep.
So you say, so we should extrapolate that down to like smaller companies, restaurants and things like that.
Dude, that's why whenever given the choice, I'll support a mom and pop business, because the customer service is 9 out of 10 times always better, because the customers directly affect their pockets.
Yeah.
You know, but when it's corporate and layer of bureaucracy.
But you would think like the more corporate something is, the more they would have like, you know, they say they have money to make sure things are okay, but it's just not the case. And I can't stand going to a store now where I have to be the checkout guy.
Oh.
You know, it's like, what is happening?
Everything.
And then you need like a degree from the learning annex to figure this shit out, you know? Sometimes then you end up still having to call that one person over.
Yeah, they still have to come over.
Mad that they're doing that job.
Yeah, because now they have to babysit 12 idiots instead of just scanning something.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't stand that so much.
And every app I have, I'm like, now I'm my own customer service.
Yeah,
rep.
man. Oh, it's true.
It's like, what are you providing me?
I know. That's why, like, it's like when you go to a Korean barbecue restaurant, like you can't complain about the cooking because you're the one cooking.
Yeah, I mean, we sound. We'll be back with two cranky old guys after this short break.
Cranky.
But I do remember when you felt like a customer. I remember that, and it feels good. Like, I still support places that take care of me. I'll go out of my way to give them my money.
Yeah, you do like little like yes. Steve's the kind of guy that'll be like, there's this you know. You want the best Italian sub in the city?
Yeah.
You're always that guy.
Yep.
That you think you know the best sandwich in the city.
Well, I'm always trading info. I'll take tips.
And you're like, this is the best sandwich, you know, in LA. And you go to this little place.
You know what? Because so many times I've been to places and like I do have that little kid optimism about me where I build stuff up in my brain. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. And then I'm like,
just so disappointed.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to like, so you're in college, and when did you decide that like comedy
was probably, so I wound up getting a dream job with the Philadelphia Eagles. I started off as an intern.
Oh wow!
And then
you had left that corporate job.
Left the corporate job. Told my parents I was going to go to law school because I like my whole life I've always had that sort of obligation to make them proud. And I was like, maybe I'll go to law school. I can postpone reality for a couple years, and then at least my mom could say her son's a lawyer. That was a lot of.
Yeah, but you would have been one of those public defenders. You would have been one of those, like, you know.
It's the only way.
Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah, I was thinking like I could be a sports agent, but as soon as I got in there, I'd be like, we got to help this family. And then I started working for the sports team, and it was great. But I never lost that sort of bug in the back of my brain because I did a couple open mics, and then I did another open mic. And then I just got to the point where I was so frustrated with life, with all of it, that I was 27. I had been on stage a handful of times, and I'm like, that's it. I'm getting in my car, and I'm going to drive to the Comedy Store.
Really?
That was the game plan. Yeah.
Why the Comedy Store?
I had two things that I had thought about in LA. Like, I had done my research, and I knew that Second City was now coming in Los Angeles.
Right.
And I was like, all the people that made me laugh throughout my childhood were either Second City guys, Belushi, Farley, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis. So I'm like, I could take classes at Second City. That's way cooler than law school. And then I knew the Comedy Store was the place for every stand-up that I loved. Like, I knew. Like, I would read even before podcasts, before social. There was less information then. But all the information pretty much pointed in one direction for stand-up. That if you're not established, there's one place to go. And they'll show you how to do it. And that's the Comedy Store.
Wow.
So I even went to AAA, and they would give you those maps called a triptych. And I started from my parents' house in suburban Philadelphia.
Right.
And then
you drove to LA.
8433 Sunset. That was the end point. And
oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
It took like 4 days.
So you stopped and you were like seeing America.
Dude, I remember.
That must have been the greatest. That must have been like such a great journey, a great adventure.
It was amazing. It felt almost like a Native American manhood test because I used to be afraid. I used to be afraid to drive on the freeway and stuff like that, like all nervous. And then I remember pulling out my map in Texas and going, I'm closer to LA than I am Philly.
Oh, wow.
And it was legit the point of no return.
Yeah.
Because I had a stinky car. And I was like, it's not going to make
There's
this
no
trip
going
twice.
back. Yeah.
There's no going back. And then I got to LA with pretty much no money, no credit card, no game plan. And the simple fact that I've survived, I'm like, looks like we made it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you didn't turn it on.
I thought I was going to hit the singing mic so good, and you'd be like,
you know what? That was a
and you
great.
give me the thumbs up. Like,
That was
good
the
try,
best
buddy.
effort for a guest to go for the singing mic, but you got to turn it on first. Then you hit it. Looks like we made it.
So I'm at a point now where this city's kicked my ass so much. I'm just grateful for surviving.
And well, you're surviving, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're out here doing it. It's just like, it's almost like, you know, you're so positive that it's like weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people think there's something wrong with
Yeah,
you.
yeah. It's almost like, but there's like a naivety that they think that you might have of like, oh, Steve, the world doesn't work like that. But you're always fighting against that. You're always saying like, no, the world should work like that.
Right.
And I'm going to continue.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because I think at our core, people are amazing and they want to connect and they want to give back and they want to do the right thing. And I'm just trying to make it easier for the people that I come into contact with to do that.
Oh, well said. So let's. I still like hearing about this though. You get to LA, you have no money. What do you do? What's your first move?
All right. So in June, I meet Pauly Shore comes to Philly to host a stand-up comedy contest.
Oh,
I win the stand-up comedy contest.
Oh, in Philly.
In Philly, it was at the TLA on South Street. So I'd been on stage maybe 10 times my whole life, and that night I was in front of like 800, 900 people. And it worked. So then Dean, who later wound up managing the Comedy Store, wrote his cell phone on a piece of paper, and he's like, hey, kid, if you ever make it to LA, give me a call. So I get to LA, and then it dawns on me, I have no game plan. I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the money I thought was rent, half of that went on a hotel the first night in LA. I'm like, I'm in serious, serious trouble. Because I pull in, because there's really nuts. As soon as you get like west of Missouri, St. Louis, I saw the arches on the 10 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Then I saw nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing.
For 3 days.
Yeah.
And then I guess
you're contemplating life on that journey.
Oh, yeah. I'm just listening to like that like Sunday Night Drive music where you're like, you take the long way home. And I'm just trying to figure out life and where I fit into it. And then I remember coming in on the 10, and it must have been out by like Ontario or something, but you start to come over the hill and then you see that Los Angeles County base, and I'm like, oh, this is the real show.
Yeah.
And the cars are flying by me, and I'm like, what is...
I know.
And I'm like, I've heard of Melrose Avenue. Do I get off here? And I'm like, this is not the right neighborhood. And I remember my first stop was the Saharan Motor Lodge across from Rock and Roll Ralph's.
Oh, that's
Sunset.
still there, I think.
Still there.
Oh, God.
And it was like
That's
50.
isn't that a hooker spot now?
Bro, I think it was then.
I think it was then.
I walked into that hotel. I paid for the hotel, and it smelled like death. Like literally, like maybe somebody did die in there.
Was that the moment that you thought, did I make a mistake?
The moment was just being on the freeway and having everybody cut me off and flying by me. And now I feel like I'm in a video game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I should have planned this.
Yeah, I should have been like,
nothing.
I'm going to stay here.
And I'm like,
I
this
should
is why
call this
people don't.
person.
Right. And then I got this cheap motel, and then I demanded my money back. I'm like, nope, give me the money now. This is disgusting. And the guy was like, yeah, it is disgusting. Here's your money.
Yeah.
And I stayed at the Best Western across from the Comedy Store.
Oh, right.
But that was like peak summer tourist. I think then,
but
20 years ago.
That's still pretty nice now.
Yeah, dude, it was like $200 then.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, for one night.
Oh.
So then I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And
Because you had like $275,
dude,
right?
I had about $1,000.
Right.
And then I went to Mel's, and I called a buddy of mine that graduated with my younger brother, who had just moved out 2 months prior. Oh, wow. And we spoke once or twice on the phone, and he was like, yeah, if you make it out here, just give me a call. And I did. and he let me crash on his couch for 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
And that you just start working the phone.
Yeah,
you hit the ground running. And then like my younger brother had another friend in Manhattan Beach who was like, there's a great wings place in Santa Monica and they make the best pizza. So I go in there, and the first guy I met in LA was my buddy Jules, who's from Jersey, who took pity on me, and it was like, you want a job? I'm like, yes. So I start delivering pizza within a week of getting to LA.
Wow.
And then he was like, where are you staying? He goes, my buddy's moving out of a place. You can rent a room and you can take over his room in this 3-bedroom. So I lived with strangers for about 6 months. It's still the nicest place I've lived in. I'm still trying to get to the life that I had when I moved out here 20 years ago.
Steve's out there still looking for a good room, guys.
Right. So, and just that was it. And then I remember calling Dean again, and he was like, look, Paulie's shooting this movie called Pauly Shore's Dead. I can get you a job doing craft services. So I would do craft services during the day, deliver pizzas at night. And then I had 2 or 3 day jobs for about my first 9-10 years.
Wow.
In comedy. And then Tommy started to give me main room spots at the store because I told him, I go, Tommy, this $100 I can make in the main room is
it's a lot.
I go, that's
in a week, in a month. Like if you can make it, that's like $400,
right? Which is like 80, 90 hours working minimum wage with the taxes taken out.
And you worked at the door too, right?
I worked every job at the store.
Right.
So I went from doing craft services and moving furniture and stuff on the set of Paulie's movie. Pauly Shore, I remember the phone call that changed my life. We worked from 6 a.m. one day to about 2:30 in the morning. And the other PAs really weren't doing anything. And I got so pissed that it wasn't a full couch, but it was like a little 2-seater love seat. And I'm like, screw this. And I just carried it by myself down a flight of steps. And as I'm carrying it down the steps by myself, Paulie was coming up the steps. And he was like, isn't anybody helping you?
What are you doing, buddy?
He was like, how come nobody's helping you? And I'm like, because they don't want to work.
You were that guy?
No, I was pissed.
You were fucking Rudy? You were Rudy?
2 in the morning, bro. It's 2 in the morning, and these other idiots are like smoking pot and they're like, oh, yeah.
Oh, you were that kid. You were like, we're here to work, you know?
Dude, I was pissed. Well, that's how I grew up. Like I didn't grow up I grew up in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, which is essentially where lawyers and construction workers become neighbors.
Yeah.
And then it was like no matter what you did, you worked. That's it. You go to work. And he called me that when I got home. It was like 3:00 in the morning. And I'm like, what's Paulie want? And he goes, dude, I appreciate how hard you're working. And he goes, I'm going to make sure you get a job at the Comedy Store. So then that was my first big break, because then I got a job answering phones at the Comedy Store, which meant I didn't have to go through that open mic process anymore. So I could now have 3 minutes of stage time every week.
Ugh. I mean, just listen to what you just said. And it's like the people that don't really want to do the work to do comedy, the people that want to skip the steps, the people that don't want to
There's no shortcuts.
They take the shortcuts, and because they would hear that and be like, that's it. But I understand how important that was at that particular time.
Yeah, because at that time, this was the open mic. This is how crazy the open mic process at this store was. They would put a list out on Saturday night, the only night the club was having any business in those days.
Right. Oh, really?
And they would put the club was so slow, the front bar was never opened. The front bar didn't start to open up till like 2011, 2012. So this is...
Really?
Yeah. Front bar. So the front bar's closed. They'd put a list out. 40 crazy people, open mic comics, half of them were homeless, would show up, scare away the business that was there to write their name on a list on Saturday night, which meant you had to find a parking space, try to find a meter on the Sunset Strip on a Saturday night, or spend $10 to park your car to write your name on the list. Yeah. Then you would have to come back the next day, Sunday afternoon, to draw numbers out of a bucket to see if you got a spot.
See if you even could do a spot
the following Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-day commitment for a 3-minute spot. and the gas and the pay for parking.
Yeah.
So that 3 minutes of stage time was everything. And then my car blew up on me. So the first 8 years in comedy, that 3 minute open mic was pretty much the only stage time I got unless somebody took me out on the road.
Wow. Gee whiz.
Yeah. So then I got in at the store. I started answering phones. 3 months later, they made me the manager. And then
You were why did I not? I did not know this.
yeah, from like March of 2001 to about, I don't know, maybe the following, at least a year. And I knew the job I wanted was door guy. Even when I managed, I would still answer the phones, the shifts nobody wanted.
Right.
Because that was usually the first shift of the day. So you could go from like 10 a.m. to 1 or 2 on the phones until somebody wanted to come into work. And then I would drive from the store back to the pizza place, start delivering pizzas.
Jesus.
And then they made me the manager of the club. So the only nights I didn't work were Friday and Saturday. So then I could deliver. They were big money nights delivering pizzas Fridays and Saturdays.
So you just being the manager of the Comedy Store wasn't like enough money to be like, okay, now I can.
You know what I got paid?
What?
$75 a shift. No
to be
benefits.
the manager?
No benefits.
Oh my God.
No benefits, no overtime. I would have to come in. There was a point where they eventually split my job up into multiple jobs. And then as soon as I became a door guy, the next guy they hired for $20 an hour in benefits. And I'm like, really, Jesus?
Really?
Come on, man. How many times am I going to get kicked in the balls?
But you might have still stayed at that job though. And
right.
That wasn't for
Hey, man,
you.
that's why I accept it all.
Yeah.
And door guy, I was Duncan's assistant, so I was the assistant talent coordinator. I worked the parking lot like twice before I had enough. The cover booth was an easy, fun job.
Yeah.
Mitzi's assistant was legendary.
Oh, wow.
I knew then it was something special,
Uh-huh.
but now I look back on it and I'm like, oh, I got to form a close personal relationship with the woman that made stand-up comedy.
Wow.
I would have
How was that? Tell us more about that.
Oh, bro. She had fired everybody.
Uh-huh.
This is when she was feared. Mitzi, like what people don't realize, and part of her legend as it's growing, is that she was a straight up gangster. She would I remember once, like one of my first memories of Mitzi was watching her sit in that chair in the back of the room and calling somebody over and pointing to the guy that was managing that night. She goes, fire him. And they're like, what? Let him go. He's too tall. She fired a dude just because he was too tall. He's blocking everybody, and I don't want to have to look up at him. Done. Sorry, dude. There goes your dreams.
I wonder where that guy is.
Probably fishing, right? Marlin fishing with a Cuban going, I'm glad I got in the commercial real estate, like love and life. That's where that guy is.
Yeah, man.
So I remember the rumors were Mitzi's looking for another assistant. Don't let it be you. Everybody was like, don't say no if they offered it to you. Don't do it. You'll last 2 days. And she would fire you one of two ways. She'd fire you and still loved you, which meant you could still be a part of the club.
Right.
Or she would fire you and don't ever let me see your face
I don't want to
again.
see that guy ever again.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was nervous. But then I was already in with the Shore family because I had managed the club. I had worked for Paulie. His brother Peter liked me. I was already in. And then it was like, how about Steve? And she was like, oh, I guess. Yeah, give me my Stevie.
Oh, no.
And here's the weird thing. I never knew until later on that she actually liked me.
Right.
Because or else she would have just gotten rid of me.
Yeah. Because how long did you last?
Over a year and a half.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, and she kept her thumb on me.
Oh, wow.
She kept, like, for all of it. Like, so... This is I get brought into the Comedy Store as Paulie's guy, the comedian he found in Philly, who he thinks is going to be a star. Right. And Mitzi's like, nah. Maybe we'll let him work the phones.
Yeah.
Right.
He'll be the manager of the club. He'll be my assistant. But not a star.
No. So then I'm working all the jobs. Now I become her assistant, which means I would take the bus from my apartment in Hollywood to the Comedy Store, pick up the Comedy Store van, call Mitzi's house, see what she needed.
Comedy Store had a van back
Yeah,
then?
now they're using it as a merch thing. It was a gray van with all the names painted on it.
Oh, wow.
And then I drive to her house and get her out of bed. Most days, that's how it would be. Every once in a while, she'd already be awake and downstairs. But usually, I'd get her out of bed, get her dressed, walk her down the steps. Like, she had this beautiful...
Oh, so she was obviously sick at the time.
Yeah. So it was more caregiver than assistant. And she would treat me like a dog, bro. Like, she would watch TV like this and have me sit on the ground next to her. And she would just be like, go get me a cookie. Okie doke, Mitzi. And I'd go get her a cookie.
Ah, no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But this is when but then every once in a while, some wisdom would come out. And I remember, like, I knew of the legend of Mitzi Shore. That's why I was getting to the Comedy Store. But I remember once when I was like, oh, this is somebody special. And I should have asked her for it. I know she would have given it to me. She loved me. But she had Richard Pryor's book on her legit coffee table book on her coffee table, Prior Convictions. And I opened it up and it said, to Mitzi, love Richard. But something else was, and it was after MS started to affect Richard. But it was like a beautiful inscription. Like, none of this would have happened without you. Or something.
Right.
And I'm like, that's how stand-up comedy got born. Real stand-up was her relationship with Richard. So every once in a while, I'd get one of those stories. Every once in a while, I'm driving her to the doctor's. Like, we got really close at some point, like, where I'm like, oh, I'm definitely getting past. Like, I would have to drive her to showcases at the Comedy Store. Like, one of my favorite stories, I've told this before, but this is before I'm her assistant. And I remember it was the worst advice I ever gave myself. Because I had started to kill at the employee spot on the open, and everybody's like, dude, you have to get past. You're killing it. And everybody's like,
that's a weird spot to be in, too.
Yes. And everybody's going, all right, we're going to put you on the showcase list.
A guy from Philly drew that, by the way. But go on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. He's from Philly.
I was going to turn on the singing mic and try to do a Boys to Men thing, but I won't. So I remember going, all right, this is it. This is your moment. You're going to have 3 minutes on stage in front of the godmother. Kill it. And the truth was, Sunday nights would be showcase night. Was also the night Sex and the City came on. So there was a 90% chance she was going to cancel and stay in and watch Sex and the City. So you'd get on the showcase list. There were comics that their best source of stage time during those years was being on Mitzi's showcase list, because sometimes it would last 4 months, where they could show up every Sunday. They were on the showcase list and have a 7-minute spot or a 3-minute spot. They're like, bro, I'm on the list. But she didn't show up. So I'm like, I had a couple of those Sundays where she didn't show up. And then one night, I walk into the room and there's 3 people. And I'm like, I'm glad she didn't show up. And they're like, no, Mitzi called. She's on her way. And I'm like, how are you going to showcase in front of 3 people? Like,
hey, that's on you.
That's not. And then I remember going, just do what you do. That was the worst advice I ever. And I came out all high energy. Like, I was opening up for Paulie at the time, and I would come out like an 80s heavy metal singer, and I go, let me see your cigarette lighters, like that. And here's the thing, if Mitzi liked you, she would circle your name.
Right.
If she didn't like you, she'd scratch your name off the list. So there's 3 people in the audience. She's in the back of the room, and I'm like, just do what you do. And I attack the stage because I had seen documentaries on Belushi and stuff. And what was the guy's name? Del Close is like, you have to attack the stage. I'm like, I'm going to attack the stage, Belushi style. I grab the mic and I go, what's up, Los Angeles? Let me see your cigarette lighters. And it was so quiet in the room, you could hear her scratching my name off the list. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? And I'm like, my dreams aren't happening tonight. And then it's like 2 years after that, I'm killing it with Mitzi, and I would drive her. Now I'm the guy driving her to those showcases.
Right. Sitting next to her.
Yeah. And I remember driving her home, and I'm like, so did you see anybody you like tonight? She said, what do you like to know? And there were a couple times where my name would be circled. Or she'd have my name circled with stars around it. Or she'd have a little note next to my name. But she never passed me. And
she didn't want to lose you.
And in hindsight, and this might be, what's that complex people get when they get like taken prisoner of war?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, this might be Stockholm syndrome
for you.
For me,
yeah,
I'm self-aware enough to think that it could be Stockholm syndrome. But I honestly, I'm like, people think I'm a little naive now. Imagine me 15
Oh,
years ago.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm there with you right now. I know that this
Yeah.
is like what you must have thought was going to happen. What
Yeah.
you like, it was like, what your thought process was like. Yeah, I know how crazy this must have been.
She was giving me tough love, and
Yeah,
she was protecting me from the business. She was.
Well,
tough.
you needed it. You still need it.
Yeah, she was making me tough, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that because there was one time. This is how I got fired. So every day I'm hanging out with her. Like she'd tell me a story about somebody that I grew up loving on TV. And
oh, that's great. Yeah.
And then like, she always told me Gary Shandling was the nicest guy in the world and still sent her flowers on her birthday. And then one day I'm at the doctor's office with her and I'm walking by and I see Shandling on the doctor's table. And I go, what the hell? So I go back and I sit next to Mitzi. I go, hey, Mitz, you'll never guess who's here. Who? Your buddy Gary. Gary. Yeah, your buddy Gary Shandling. She goes, ooh. Send him in. I go, what? She goes, tell him it's me, okay? So I'm like, hey, Mr. Shandling. Hey. Huh? And I'm wearing the dorky Comedy Store shirt. And he's like, Comedy Store? I go, yeah, actually, Mitzi's right next door. She would love it if you could come by and say hi. And he goes, I'll be right over. And then I see Shandling and Mitzi catch up for the first time in years. They talked maybe 2-3 hours. The doctor just let them have their own room. And I'm just a fly on the wall for that conversation between two legends.
Oh, wow.
So there was really positive memories like that. And then there were times like, I hate her. She's the worst.
Of course.
She fired me because Paulie had me, Ari, and Renazizi. Did you ever hear this story?
No.
Oh, this is Comedy Store folklore. Because
this will be in the coffee table book for the Comedy Store.
Because we were the last, she passed other comics after us, but I would say we were the last 3 she really had her thumb on.
Oh, got you.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I know she passed Whitney and Dalia,
she passed me.
She passed you, but we were the ones that she was we were tortured by her,
right?
And in my brain, Mitzi Shore was like Pai Mei from Kill Bill, just making assassins, breaking your balls, breaking your.
So you wanted to take her eye out?
Yeah. I remember when you were telling that story about the different types of dudes in the military, I got to see behind the curtain on my last USO tour. And I got to talk to a Marine drill instructor. And those dudes are as hard as nails. But now we're not kids. He's not a kid. We're having beers after a comedy show. And he goes, the reason why we break their balls like that is to keep them alive.
Yeah, yeah.
When bullets are flying, if I don't instill in them the skills they need, they will die. So now I'm able to see that drill instructor vibe in Mitzi Shore. Okay? So this is one of the ways this is how she broke our balls. So I'd been her assistant a year and a half. She knew my whole backstory. She knew Paulie brought me into the club. The only time she would ever let me get a break from being her assistant was when I was on the road opening up for Paulie. And then I'd come back and she would have already, if I was gone a week, 4 different people came and went in that week. Get out of my fucking house. For real. You're dead to me. Like legit.
Yeah.
So Paulie thinks he's going to do us a favor. It's me, Ari, Renazizi. At the time, Paulie's sister Sandy was running a room in Palm Springs called Sandy Shores Comedy C-Box or something.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I did her class, by the way.
Sandbox. Comedy Sandbox or whatever. So we're like, oof. It's Friday. We drive out. We fight all that traffic. It's me, Ari, Renazizi. We have a hotel room. Renazizi. That dude's always been the straw that stirs the drink. Guys, you want to have a couple cocktails? We'll go hit the tables. We'll do the shows. Always. So we show up at the club, and the lady at the time that was managing the club was Shelly. And she pops backstage, and we're like, what are you doing here? And she goes, hey, guys, Paulie, have your mom in the back of the room. We're like, what? So Paulie goes, hey, I invited my mom to the show tonight so she could see you guys in front of a real crowd. He was like, sometimes my mom just needs to see you in front of a real live audience and not some open mic in the OR when it's deaf.
Oh, God.
She goes, that's how Bobby Lee got passed.
Yeah.
Bobby was opening up for me in Vegas. My mom never thought he was funny until she saw Bobby kill. Whatever. So now Ari and Renazizi are like, yes, this is going to be great. They're already riding high. I immediately go, this is not gonna. I knew. I had a feeling.
Because you spent too much time with her too.
Yes, and then also, by this point, the closer I got to her, the more impossible it became for me to have a good set in front of her. It's kind of like if you see a hot chick but you don't know her, you're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then you get her laughing, oh, you. But then you like, if the hot chick's your best friend, then you build it up in your mind and you're like, I'm imagining us with a beach house one day and grandkids coming over and I'm making meatballs. Then you can't even talk to the girl, right? You raise the stakes. So I'm looking at them and I go, all right, here's the deal. I go, I've never had a good set in front of me. I go, I'll take the bullet. Because we were all going, who's going to go first? I go, I'll go on first. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I think it went me, Ari, Renazizi. I think that's how it went. I know I went on first. And I'm like, I felt like I was that dude running towards the bullets where I'm like, I just want you guys to get home to your families.
Yeah.
So I go out.
Leave me. Get out of here.
Yeah. Tell my wife I love her. Bro, I'm not exaggerating. Very few times in my career have all the stars lined up where you just catch lightning. I go out and murder.
Oh, wow.
Murder out of the MC spot. And Renazizi's like, and Ari, like as I'm bringing out, like walking off stage and Ari's walking up, like, congratulations, you just got passed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, kill it, Ari, kill it. He's like, you've inspired me. I'm like, he's running to the mic.
Yeah.
He kills it. Renazizi kills it. Now we're all Paulie's on stage, and they're popping champagne in the 7th inning, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah. They're put on their goggles, put down the plastic wrap. Like, little did they know they're wearing a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl championship shirt.
Right.
So I'm going, I don't know. They're like, what do you mean? I'm running easy smoking cigarettes. What do you mean? He's counting his money to go play blackjack. I go, hey, man, I don't have a good feeling about this. And they're like, dude, you're in your head too much. You're too much.
Then they're getting on you.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right.
Okay.
So then after the show,
Sure enough.
Shelly comes back like, and they're like, Mitzi wants to talk to you guys. And Renazizi's like, see, I told you, we're about to get past. And I go, no, it's not going to be good. And she looks at us and she goes, Steve's right, it's not good. So we're in the back of this comedy club. She's sitting in her chair looking up at us. Immediately, Ari and Renazizi fall to their knees. Yes, Mitzi, what up? She goes, listen to me. And then she looks at me, you. And I'm like, oh. I'm so mad at this point. So mad. She was like, what the fuck do you think that was? And I was like, stand-up comedy, we all just did great. Shut up. You think you did great? Well, objectively, the audience, you're not ready for the road. She goes, you're not ready for the road until I say you're ready for the road. And she points at me. She goes, you. How many names are on that van you drive me around in? I'm like, what? She goes, tell me how many signatures on there. And I'm like, I don't know. That's right. You don't know. You don't know shit. She goes, you know what all those signatures have in common? They're all millionaires. And you want to know why they're millionaires? Because they did it my way. She goes, you want to go get lost out on the road and become a nobody? Or do you want to sit down, shut up, and listen to me? She goes, you're not ready for the road until I say you're ready for the road. So I'm like, there was a tiny little glimmer of hope in me that night.
Right.
Because it was the first time I heard her refer to me as hers. And I would hear
and also
rumors,
as a comic.
Yes.
Yes.
And I would hear rumors like she would check in. She would check in with, but now I'm her assistant and a door guy.
Right.
I'm not, or answering phones. I'm not the manager, but she would ask the managers, like, how's Steve doing on his spots? How's this? And she had her thumb on me a little bit. She would check in, ask. But I'm like, oh, maybe she does care, kind of, a little bit. And then that was on Friday, and I took the bus to the Comedy Store on Monday, and I called. By that point, she had an overnight caregiver, Alfred. And I call Alfred to get her grocery list. And he's like, Mitzi, what do you need from the store? Uh-huh. And I'm like, what you need, Alfred? She said nothing from you. And you hear her screaming. Don't come in. And she's still screaming. You're fired. And I got fired for opening up for Paula.
Oh no.
Yeah, which I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
that was her way of saying like, hey, just go cut your teeth a little bit more. And then about 2 years after that, maybe it was.
But you'd still getting spots at the store at this point?
I'm not a paid regular yet.
Oh, right.
This is like 2003, 2004.
Really?
I don't become a paid regular to 2008.
What?
Took me 8 years.
Jesus.
And I remember around.
I guess we were around the same time then.
Yeah. These are two great Mitzi things. I remember once she was having an issue where sometimes she would fall out of bed and call the store for help when Alfred wasn't there. I don't know if Alfred was living there yet. I don't remember. But I was convinced she hated me. And Tommy's on the phone with her.
Oh, Tommy's there.
And he's like, well, Mitzi, I have to run the club. I can't come get you. And she's like, well, who's there? And he was like, I could send. And he's just looking in the room, shouting out names. And I'm talking to Tommy in the cover booth. And I'm like, she's not going to want me to go get her. And then he goes, well, Steve Simone's here. And then I hear her voice go, yeah, send me my Stevie. And I'm like, oh. So now she's not this mythical matriarch of comedy that's breaking my balls. She's just an older woman that needs my help. She's just my friend's mom.
Yeah.
And I go, all right, I'm gonna go. I'll go. I mean, I found her on the floor, And I put her into bed, and we just started talking. Like I used to have to talk her asleep. Like I used to do a bit about my little brother and how he would fall asleep talking. But the reason I wrote that bit is because I would do it to Mitzi, and it reminded me of my little brother. Like Mitzi would be like, and then John Witherspoon showed up, and everybody was laughing. And then I turn out the nightlight and tiptoe out. Like, I'd put her to sleep every night, So then we start talking, and she said all these really cool things about how much she believed in me and my comedy and stuff. And then I didn't get past. I think that was probably like 2007, because I remember
But at that point too, though, Tommy had his fingers and everything at that point.
Well, this is what happened.
You know what I mean?
Great. So now I'm hanging out with Ari again, and I had stayed away from the store for about a year because I was just working the road nonstop. I was doing a bunch of military stuff, and then at the time, Steve Trevino was my roommate. He just started to headline, so he was like getting a ton of dates. And I was his roommate, so he was like, I'll let you feature on these dates so I know you can pay your rent. So it was a great system.
Yeah. He was cool back then.
So cool.
Yeah.
So I was there was 1 year, like 2006-ish, where I think I was on the road 40-some weeks out of the year. It was crazy.
Yeah, because he was big then. Mencia, all that stuff.
So I was doing a ton of stuff with him. And I will say this, before I got passed in Hollywood, I don't remember the year, but I remember Mitzi always used to give me La Jolla. I'd get paid in La Jolla, and bro, she had me down there all the time.
Yeah.
She'd let me MC. I remember one show. Imagine this for a show in La Jolla. The weekend Chelsea Handler's book came out, so it was like right before she blew up. She was doing La Jolla to promote the sale of her book.
Right.
The lineup was I'm emceeing, Sebastian is featuring, and Chelsea Handler headlines.
Oh, wow.
And I knew then that was going to be a legendary show. Yeah. Not because I was on it, but because they were on it. Like, I'm like, oh, these are the shows people talk about. So I'm on the road like a year. Tommy calls me. They were still, even though I hadn't worked at the club as a doorman or whatever for a year and a half or something, they would still give me the friends and family spot on Sunday nights, my 3 minutes. Because I had earned that after 5 years of slave labor. And then Mitzi was she would, like I said, I got La Jolla spots. But I'm talking to Ari. I hadn't seen him in a while because I'd been on the road so much. And I'm like, I'm just done. I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore. Yeah. It was 2008 because I
think we're just meeting each other around this time.
Yes. And it was back when I used to just sit at the waitress table in the back. I would still go down there to hang out even though I wasn't performing. And me and Ari are talking and the phone rings and it's Tommy. And he's like, me and Ari are talking about the store, and I'm asking him about everybody, and I'm like, oh my God, it's the Comedy Store. And he's like, get it. So Steve, it's Tommy. Mitzi wants to know if you want a showcase for her this Sunday. And I went, and Ari's right there, and I just got done saying how I'm over
done.
it.
Yeah, that's
so if
that's
he
where
wasn't
shit
there,
happens.
Yeah. So I go, nah. Because I'm like, I can't lose my face in front of Ari. And he goes, what do you mean, nah? He goes, you don't want a showcase for Mitzi? And I go, nope.
Wow.
And he goes, but you've worked so hard for it. And I go, yeah. But she's always said no, so I don't give a shit anymore. And he goes, well, might I ask why? And I go, it's kind of like being a girl's best friend, and she's hooking up with every other guy that treats her like shit.
Yeah.
And then you eventually stop wanting to date her. I go, that's me in the Comedy Store. You guys have treated me like shit for 8 years. I don't need it. And he goes, well, let me ask you a question. If Jamie Masada, because I had already started to headline one-offs at Improvs at that point. Like
Okay, right.
Wednesday night in Brea.
Yeah.
Like, he goes, if Jamie Masada called you, would you go showcase for Jamie? I go, yeah, absolutely. Well, why would you showcase for Jamie and not Mitzi? I go, because I was never Jamie's assistant. I never got Jamie out of bed and put him in the bed for almost 2 years. I never managed Jamie's club. I never parked cars for Jamie. I never mixed drinks for Jamie. Never sold tickets to his shows. And he was like, well, I'm sorry you hear that. And I go, yeah, well, I'm sorry that I have to say it. And he goes, well, I guess if you want to do those employee spots, still, I'm more than willing to keep you on the list. I'm like, whatever, dude. Okay, maybe. Boom. And then Ari's like, whoa. And I go, yeah, whoa. And I'm like, he goes, I guess you had to do that. And I go, I guess so. I go, it felt good. I'm like, I stood up for myself, you know?
Yeah.
Because I was like, if she doesn't think I'm funny by now, she's never going to think I'm funny.
Right.
But the thing was, it wasn't about being funny. It was about having the balls to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So now me and Ari are talking. The phone rings again, and it's Tommy. He goes, Steve, I just got off the phone with Mitzi. And I'm like, uh-huh. What did she want? Well, she said to tell you something. I'm like, what? Congratulations. You're our newest paid regular. And then Ari was like, this is great.
Oh, man.
And that's how I got passed. But I was so pissed by that point. I didn't even want to. The only reason I stayed at the Comedy Store after that tumultuous time period was that I needed the $15 they were paying us at the time.
Jeez.
That's how broke I was.
Yeah.
I'm going, all right, I could do a spot Wednesday and put gas in my car for a week at the time.
Yeah. Wow, that's great, man.
Crazy, right?
I know. And that's about around the time that I got passed. I got passed like 2007, 2006.
Yeah, I think like you were passed before me. I remember that.
Yeah, I was like one of the
because you just showed up good. You were one of those guys that developed outside of the Comedy Store.
Yeah, but it still was like it was still a thing. Like dealing with Tommy was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, he didn't make it. Whatever you went through with her on a smaller level.
Oh, I went through it with Tommy
I had
too.
to go through with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you never knew what was coming from Mitzi, what was coming from Tommy.
I didn't believe anything he had to say.
So it was like, who knew?
But I remember the night, okay, there was 2 nights for me. One of them was like, I remember the night, 3 nights actually. The first night I ever showcased for her was in the OR. Mm-hmm. And Ahmed at the time had set it up for me.
Yep.
You know, she didn't even look at me. Jay Davis got passed the night that.
Okay.
And so I was infuriated. You know what I mean? Because she didn't even talk to me. Like literally, she just looked ahead. I went and standing next to the booth.
Yeah, people are going, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't even look at me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I was like, fuck.
Yep.
So it wasn't like a year or so later that like they started doing showcases in the main room. Remember?
Was that the Barry Katz stuff?
No, they were doing showcases in the main room during like one of Vargas and Kathy's show.
Okay.
So they brought her in. She's sitting in that booth.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was like, fuck this place. I really was at that point because I was just tired of all the bullshit, tired of the runaround Tommy was giving me.
Yep.
So I'm on stage. You're only supposed to do like 3 minutes. I was like, fuck you. I'm doing as much time as I fucking want. That's what I thought in my head.
Yep.
You know, and I ran the light. I was like,
she loves that.
I'm doing this shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm killing this crowd. Because I was like, I was thinking to myself, let me show you how this is supposed to really be done.
Yes. You want to see what I can do?
Yeah, let me show you this shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then I'm standing in the hallway next to the like where you go into the kitchen.
Yep.
So they bring her out of that little door.
Yeah.
She sees me and she says, "You were funny." And then they took her out. And then they walked her out. And then Tommy comes.
The mountaintop.
And then Tommy comes. Then Tommy goes, "All right, you know, you're in." I feel like that she really passed me. Like that's it.
Yeah.
But Tommy made it like, we got to go to the belly room. Now you're in the belly room for like a year or like whatever it was. So I was like, okay. I didn't believe that shit, but I was like, okay, Tommy, whatever.
Yeah.
So I did a belly room for a year. I'm still not a paid regular.
Yeah.
Whatever spot I got, I refused to park in the lot, even though I was allowed to. I said, I'm never parking in this lot until I'm a paid regular.
Okay.
So I parked down the street, paid $10, whatever I had to do.
Yep.
So I said, I'm not parking in this lot
Until I feel like I
until I feel like I earned it.
Yeah.
So then it was like,
I don't walk through the back door at my jiu-jitsu school yet.
boom.
I walk through the front door. All the good guys walk through the back.
You understand? We're in the same cut from the same. So I remember the night. It was like really late, 8 people in the crowd. Steve Trevino, I don't think he was passed yet either.
Okay.
And he goes up before me. And he's bitter. He's angry about it. Because I remember how he was, him. He's like, you give daddy to...
Daddy, I forgot he always used to say that. You're right.
You're giving daddy that 1 o'clock a.m. spot. Daddy can't shine right now. He's doing all this shit.
Yeah.
He's saying all this nonsense to the crowd that's, and I'm next.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So when I go up, I give these motherfuckers the 9 p.m. show.
Yep. Did it work?
Oh, Tommy, come sign the paperwork tomorrow. You're now a paid regular.
Wow.
And I was like, so I don't know if I've ever even told Steve that, but I know it was because it was that I needed that. I needed him to be so like anti what was happening and having the crowd be weird.
Of it is attitude, man.
Yeah, and I needed that, and then so I did that. So and that's when I became a paid regular, and then it's just like,
was that a goal of yours?
I mean, it was like,
'cause you grew up here, right?
You know what? At a certain point, it was like I thought it was important, but then it became a thing where I was like, fuck this place.
Well, what people don't realize is the club was dead during those years too. Dead. Like sometimes there wouldn't even be a show dead.
Tommy's just resurrecting it, and it's like that's when Sebastian, Brett Ernst, and John Caparillo, and these guys they're making their rise and they're doing their thing.
I remember doing belly room spots then. It would go Whitney, Chris, me, or me, Whitney, Chris, or like I was doing belly room spots on Tuesdays with Whitney and Chris.
Yeah. That's and Chris was Chris was before me with that. He was doing those belly room spots, and him and I were doing sets at the Ha and all these kind of places, and I didn't realize what he was doing at the Comedy Store. So when I found out, I was like, I need to get over there, and that's when I did that. I did that because of that, But it got to a point where I was like, fuck this, I don't care. And what was happening is I was being around the Comedy Store a lot, and I'd be sitting there talking with someone, and then Tommy would walk by, and that person would go like, Tommy, do you know Eric? You got to get him in here, and I'd look at Tommy and be like,
I didn't say it.
This isn't me, dude.
Yeah.
I'm tired of asking you about this, so I'm not gonna. So I just waited for my time to happen. You know what I mean? But it's like I look back on all that, and even when Tommy left, there was a part of me that was like, I was like, oh, there was a method to the madness.
All of it.
Even if he didn't consciously know what it did for me,
yes,
I appreciated.
Absolutely. That's why I say there's a beauty to the struggle.
Yeah.
And people, we
a
can't
beauty to the struggle. That's a great way to say it. There is a beauty
to the struggle. And like, I have a very special relationship with Tommy. You know what? Like after this, I'll give him a phone call. I have no hard feelings. I have nothing but love for the dude.
Listen, I don't have any hard feelings.
I was there the day he first walked into the building.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. That's crazy. I just realized I saw Tommy the day he walked in to try to get a job. And then I saw Tommy the night he was let go.
Oh, wow.
Saw him at the post office.
Full circle. But like I say, I don't have any ill feelings. And I think that he thinks I do. I've just heard things. But if you do, since you still talk to him, you should let him know. I have no ill feelings towards the guy.
I got nothing for
nothing but love
for the guy.
You know what? You know what? This is a good.
I feel lighter, man.
Yeah. I think we did some good. We did some good talking on this episode right now, and so I want to thank you for coming on. And once again, what's the name of your album?
Jabba.
Look for Jabba on iTunes or anywhere you can find comedy albums. I'm sure it's everywhere. I'm sure it's everywhere. Amazon, every place like that. I'll have links in the description. And this is my good friend Steve Simeone. We're working on projects together. We're trying to get some stuff sold, and because we want to buy Chick-fil-A's and retire.
That's it. I want to be the funniest guy going, you need a refill on that sweet tea?
Yeah. People are like, well, you work here? But they don't know. No, I actually own the place, but I'm not going to tell them. You know what I mean?
That's the secret.
We're just trying to ensure customer service is good. You know know what I mean? So, but this is my good buddy Steve Simeone, and I really thank you for coming on. And you'll probably see him again on other episodes because
this was the best.
Yeah, you were the best, man. And like, if you really want, I gotta reiterate, if you want some positive comedy, if you don't want to just laugh at the negative things in life, which a lot of comics do, including myself, but if you want to celebrate life and celebrate some of the good times, this is the man to listen to, my good buddy Steve Simeone. And that's been another episode of Riffin with Griffin. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like, smash that reminder, and keep listening, and you'll have all the description. In the description, you can find all about Steve. And thanks again, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thanks for listening.